Why are so many people tired all the time, even when they haven't done anything? Why do millions wake up feeling more exhausted than when they went to bed? Why does a quiet Sunday leave you drained? And why does a full night of sleep often feel like it did nothing? Across the globe, a silent epidemic is spreading, one that doesn't show up in blood tests or respond to more coffee, supplements, or even rest. The exhaustion many feel today is not the result of physical overexertion. It is the consequence of a system under siege, a nervous system caught in a state of constant alert, unable to shut off. In modern society, most people are not physically tired. They are neurologically depleted. They are living in a prolonged state of stress activation, where the body initiates a survival response but never completes it. This creates a loop where your body prepares for danger, but that danger is never physically confronted or resolved. It's like being chased by a lion every day. But instead of running, fighting, or escaping, you sit in a meeting, answer emails, or scroll through bad news. The threat never ends, and neither does the response. According to researchers Emily and Amelia Nagoski, this is the real reason you're always tired. Not because of laziness, not because of a lack of discipline, and certainly not because you need another productivity hack. It's because your nervous system is flooded with unresolved stress, and rest alone doesn't fix that. Sleep, sitting still, or numbing your mind with screens may give the illusion of rest. But they do not tell your body that the threat is gone. And unless your body receives that signal, unless you complete the stress cycle, it will stay locked in survival mode, burning energy even while you're doing nothing at all. This insight challenges everything we've been told about exhaustion. We are taught to treat fatigue with more sleep, more relaxation, or more self-care. But for many, those remedies fail. Why? Because the root of the problem isn't being tired from activity. It's being stuck in an unresolved loop of threat activation without release. You are not exhausted because you did too much. You're exhausted because your nervous system believes the danger hasn't passed. And if the body thinks it's still in danger, it won't allow you to fully relax, no matter how long you lie down. This is not just theory, this is biology. When your body perceives a stressor, like a deadline, a tense conversation, financial anxiety, or a disturbing headline, it triggers a full-blown physiological reaction. Heart rate rises, cortisol floods the bloodstream, muscles tense, breath shortens. In a natural environment, this would be resolved by running, fighting, or physically escaping. But in the digital age, we're surrounded by hundreds of micro-stressors every day that trigger this same response, without offering a way out. The result? An invisible buildup of tension that never discharges, slowly corroding your energy, focus, and health. This isn't burnout in the poetic sense. It's burnout in the physiological sense. Your nervous system is burning out. It is being activated again and again without resolution. And most people don't even know this is happening. They blame themselves. They think they're weak. They think something's wrong with them. But in reality, what's wrong is the system they live in, a system that values endurance over recovery, productivity over presence, and constant stimulation over completion. This video is not just about tiredness. It's about the hidden mechanics of modern exhaustion. It's about understanding why traditional rest doesn't work, and what you actually need to feel whole again. Because until you learn to complete the stress cycle, you will keep waking up tired, no matter how early you go to bed. Let's break this down and explore the science behind your fatigue, and more importantly, what you can do to finally feel truly rested. The truth is harsh, but it must be said. Most people today are not living their lives, they are surviving them. Day after day, they carry the invisible weight of stress responses that were never allowed to finish. And this, more than anything else, is the root of their chronic fatigue. It's not about being too busy. It's not about doing too much. It's about doing nothing to tell the body that it's safe. Stress is not the enemy. The human body is remarkably well equipped to handle stress, brief, acute stress. Our ancestors faced life-threatening events, and the body responded accordingly. Adrenaline surged, blood pumped to the limbs, focus sharpened, breath accelerated. The body prepared to run, to fight, to survive. But most importantly, once the threat passed, once they escaped the predator or overcame the danger, the stress cycle completed. The body was able to discharge that tension, return to baseline, and restore balance. Modern humans, however, rarely get this closure. We face stressors, an overflowing inbox, an unpaid bill, an awkward conversation, a toxic boss. But we are rarely allowed to respond physically. You can't run away from an email. You can't punch a notification. You can't scream at your mortgage. So what happens instead? The body still prepares for battle, but the battle never comes. You walk around with a nervous system stuck in on, simmering with unspent energy, unresolved tension, and unreleased cortisol. Over time, this becomes your default state. This is what the Nagoski sisters call incomplete stress response. Your body begins the stress cycle, but never finishes it. And every time that happens, the cycle leaves a residue, a buildup, a layer of physiological debris that clogs your system. One cycle left open is fine, 10 is manageable, 50 a day, every day, for years. That's when the system starts to break down. You begin to feel symptoms you can't explain: constant fatigue, irritability, foggy thinking, a sense of being on edge for no reason. You may even experience chronic pain, weakened immunity, or emotional numbness. Not because something's wrong with you, but because something important was never completed. This is why so many people feel tired after doing nothing, because the nothing they did was not the kind that restores the body. It was the kind that numbs it. You may have scrolled your phone or binged a series, but your nervous system was still running in the background, scanning for threats, holding on to unresolved stress, refusing to relax because no signal ever told it, "You're safe now." Even worse, modern society reinforces this malfunction. We are told that rest is lazy, that emotions are weakness, that success means pushing through, staying strong, and never stopping. So instead of completing the cycle, we suppress it. We sit still, tense. We smile while anxious. We distract ourselves from the tension instead of releasing it. Over time, this suppression becomes a lifestyle, one that masquerades as functioning, but is, in truth, slow deterioration. And here's the final cruel irony. The body cannot tell the difference between a big stressor and a small one. Your system responds to an awkward text the same way it would to a tiger in the jungle. Heart rate up, muscles tight, cortisol spike. Your body reacts, not to logic, but to perception of threat, which means that every unresolved microstressor is another incomplete loop, and when those loops accumulate, you burn out, not dramatically, quietly, subtly, until you wake up one day and realize you're exhausted all the time and you don't even know why. But now you do. The fatigue you feel is not a mystery, it's biology. It's a buildup of incomplete cycles, unfinished stories your body was never allowed to end. And if you want to reclaim your energy, your clarity, and your calm, you don't need more sleep. You need to complete the cycle. But what about the things we call rest today? Why don't they work? If you're sitting down, relaxing, doing nothing, why doesn't that reset your system? In the next part, we'll uncover the deceptive illusion of modern rest and why it's keeping you stuck in exhaustion. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. In a world obsessed with productivity, even rest has been hijacked. We've been sold the idea that relaxation means inactivity, lounging on the couch, watching something mindless, or aimlessly scrolling through endless feeds. It feels like rest. It looks like rest. But on a neurological level, your body disagrees. Because what you're doing in those moments is not signaling safety to your nervous system. It's simply pausing movement while the internal storm rages on. When you lie on the couch after a long day and binge a TV show, what's really happening? Your muscles may be still, but your mind is far from calm. The glowing screen keeps your brain stimulated. The content, even when entertaining, may provoke stress, plot twists, intense dialogue, disturbing news. Add to that the exposure to blue light, which disrupts your circadian rhythm and blunts melatonin production, making it harder for your body to prepare for real sleep. Add to that the notifications that pop up mid-episode, reminding you of emails, deadlines, social comparisons. What you thought was rest is actually low-level, ongoing activation of your stress response. And this is the trap. You finish the show and feel just as tired, maybe worse. You wake up the next day having relaxed all evening, but the exhaustion lingers. Why? Because your body never heard the message, it's over. You're safe now. You can let go. Without that message, your nervous system stays in limbo, alert and bracing for the next threat. The same goes for the social media scroll. In theory, it's harmless, just a few minutes to decompress, right? But your brain sees something very different. Curated perfection, subtle comparisons, political outrage, tragic headlines, dopamine spikes with no resolution. It's not rest. It's stimulation dressed in rest's clothing. And worse, it comes with a side of guilt. You rested, yet you feel no better. Now, you feel both tired and lazy, wondering why the so-called downtime isn't doing its job. This is not a personal failure. This is a cultural design flaw. We have confused escape with recovery. We have accepted that zoning out is enough. But the truth is, zoning out is passive. Recovery is active. Completing the stress cycle is biological work, not emotional indulgence. It requires participation. Your body needs to do something that tells it, threat passed, all clear, stand down. That something is not more numbing, more scrolling, or more sedentary screen time. True rest comes when the cycle completes, when the body moves from activation to resolution. This doesn't happen automatically. It must be triggered through specific physiological signals that speak the language of the nervous system, not the logic of the mind. So no, the problem isn't that you're not resting enough. It's that the rest you're choosing doesn't work. Your body isn't broken. It's waiting for the moment when it finally receives the command it's been listening for. You're safe now. But how do we give that signal? What are the mechanisms, the actions, the rituals that actually complete the cycle and restore balance? In the next part, we'll explore the real science of chronic activation and how our daily lives keep us trapped in a loop that was never designed to be left open, because understanding the damage is only the beginning. Now it's time to expose the full system that keeps your body in survival mode. To understand why you're always tired, even when you've technically rested, we need to look at the larger system that surrounds you. Because your exhaustion isn't just personal, it's systemic. It's built into the very fabric of modern life, where stress is normalized, speed is glorified, and rest is something you have to earn. This is not just a lifestyle issue. This is a cultural pathology, a sickness disguised as ambition. From the moment you wake up, your nervous system is bombarded. You check your phone and are immediately greeted by messages, missed tasks, anxiety-inducing headlines. You rush to get ready, perhaps skipping breakfast, caffeine already pumping through your bloodstream to simulate alertness. You commute, navigate traffic, and enter an environment, physical or digital, that demands constant attention, response, and performance. You move from task to task, meeting to meeting, never actually resolving anything, just containing it, suppressing it, postponing it. Your body reacts to each micro-stressor as if it's a potential threat, and your nervous system, unable to distinguish between psychological and physical danger, treats them all the same way. This is what researchers call chronic activation. Your stress response, the fight, flight, or freeze mechanism, was never meant to be a 24/7 background process. It evolved for moments of acute danger followed by resolution. But in today's world, there is no lion, no escape, and no clear end to the threat. Instead, the system stays switched on, not in full-blown panic, but in a low-grade, persistent hum of alertness. You are constantly bracing, muscles slightly tense, breathing slightly shallow, thoughts slightly anxious. And over time, this slight tension becomes your new normal. This is why so many people live in a state of wired and tired, a condition where your body is fatigued, but your mind won't shut off. You collapse onto the couch, exhausted, but can't relax. You lie in bed exhausted, but can't sleep. You wake up exhausted and somehow feel more tired than before. Because the body is not in rest mode, it's in threat mode, and no amount of sleep can override that. To make matters worse, we live in a culture that not only ignores this reality but actively reinforces it. We are told to hustle, to push through, to never stop grinding. Productivity is idolized, and rest is seen as a luxury, or worse, laziness. If you take a break, you're falling behind. If you pause, someone else gets ahead. So instead of completing the stress cycle, we numb it. We caffeinate it. We suppress it. We shame ourselves for feeling overwhelmed, and then we congratulate ourselves for continuing to endure. This is not resilience. This is self-destruction disguised as strength. Even when we try to rest, guilt creeps in. You finally sit still, and your mind starts listing everything you should be doing. You try to enjoy a weekend off, and end up checking your email just in case. Rest is no longer rest. It's another performance, another checkbox, another thing to optimize. This collective denial of stress and the illusion of endless performance fuel a vicious loop. The more we suppress, the more exhaustion builds. And the more exhausted we feel, the harder we push ourselves to appear fine. Over time, this creates burnout. Not just emotional, but physiological. Your body loses the ability to return to baseline. You're stuck in the middle of the tunnel with no way out. But here's the good news. There is a way out. And it doesn't come from trying harder or thinking positive. It comes from learning how to speak the language of your nervous system. Because if the body never received the message that it's safe, then the only way to restore balance is to send that message clearly, directly, and physically. So how do you complete the stress cycle? What specific actions tell your body that the danger has passed and it's time to heal? In the next part, we'll dive into the science-backed strategies that actually work. Not theories, not trends, but tools grounded in biology that allow you to finally close the loop and breathe again. Even when you know how to complete the stress cycle, even after you've cried, moved, breathed, and connected, there's a force pulling you back in, a gravitational field of pressure, performance, and silent shame. Because if the stress cycle is a biological loop, the society you live in is the factory that keeps restarting it. The truth is brutal. We are conditioned to ignore our biology in service of productivity. We are trained, almost from birth, to override our instincts, suppress our needs, and measure our worth by how much we can endure. This is not just unhealthy, it's pathological. Think about it. From a young age, you're rewarded for ignoring your body. You get gold stars for sitting still in class, even when you're restless. You're praised for pushing through, even when you're clearly overwhelmed. You're taught to smile when you're uncomfortable, to say, "I'm fine" when you're not, to put others first, no matter how depleted you feel. And by the time you become an adult, you've internalized a brutal rule. You don't stop when you're tired. You stop when you're done. But what if you're never done? Welcome to the endless treadmill of modern life, where rest is conditional and exhaustion is glamorized. The workplace celebrates grind culture, late nights, early mornings, always-on availability. Social media rewards the highlight reel, not the recovery. Even wellness, ironically, has been commodified into another form of performance. Meditation apps, mindfulness trackers, biohacking routines, all of them useful until they become another box to check, another way to prove you're doing life correctly. At the heart of this cultural sickness lies a dangerous belief that your value is in your output, that your worth is measured by your productivity. This belief has a name: human giver syndrome, as described by Emily and Amelia Nagoski. It's a system in which you are expected to give everything, your time, energy, emotions, body, to others, and ask for nothing in return. You're not supposed to have needs. You're supposed to be nice, pleasant, grateful. And when you finally collapse from burnout, the world asks why you didn't take better care of yourself. But the system was never designed for your well-being. It was designed for your compliance. This is especially true in capitalist, hyper-connected societies where every moment must be monetized or optimized. Time off is treated as indulgence, not necessity. Even leisure is expected to be productive. Learn a skill, start a side hustle, improve yourself. The message is constant. Rest is for the weak, and weakness is shameful. No wonder so many people feel guilty for resting. No wonder people sabotage their own recovery because they've been taught to feel unworthy of it. And this isn't just about work. This mindset permeates relationships, parenting, education, and even spirituality. You're expected to serve, support, show up, and smile. Even if you're dying inside, you're expected to be strong, but not angry, exhausted, but not bitter, productive, but not selfish. This cultural gaslighting keeps you in a constant state of low-grade threat, terrified of being seen as lazy, weak, or too much. And here's the final twist. The more exhausted you become, the more you blame yourself. You don't question the system. You question your own discipline, your own mindset, your own routines. You start buying more supplements, reading more self-help books, trying harder to rest the right way, when the real problem is not that you're broken, but that you've been manipulated. You were never meant to live like this. You were never meant to carry constant, unprocessed stress while pretending you're fine. Your body is screaming for resolution, and the world keeps handing you distractions. But once you see the game, you can stop playing it. Still, awareness alone isn't enough. You now understand the biology. You've seen the trap. But what are the real, tangible signs that you're stuck in the cycle? How do you know when your nervous system is still in survival mode, even if your life looks normal on the outside? In the next part, we'll break down the hidden symptoms of unresolved stress, the subtle signals your body sends when it's begging for completion. Because recognizing the signs is the first step to reclaiming your energy, your clarity, and your life. If what you're hearing resonates with you, you'll find real value in my ebooks. Beyond the Shadow breaks down Jung's core ideas, while Dialogues with the Unconscious gives you a 30-day path to apply them in your life. Both are linked in the pinned comment. If chronic activation is the disease, then completion is the cure. And no, this is not a metaphor. Completing the stress cycle is not a spiritual concept or a vague mental shift. It's a concrete biological process. When the body goes into survival mode, it initiates a cascade of hormonal and neurological responses. Completing the cycle means bringing that entire cascade to a close, flipping the switch from threat back to safety. Without this resolution, your system stays stuck in limbo, bleeding energy, focus, and emotional stability day after day. The key to healing, then, isn't doing less. It's doing the right kind of things, activities that speak directly to your nervous system and tell it, the danger has passed. You survived. Now you can rest. So, what completes the stress cycle? First and foremost, physical movement. This is the most efficient, biologically direct way to resolve the stress response. Think about it. The stress response evolved to fuel action. Your body gears up for movement, to fight, to flee, to survive. If you never move, that energy has nowhere to go. It festers. So, when you move vigorously, when you run, dance, lift, punch, kick, jump, your body finally receives the signal it was waiting for. We made it. The threat is over. According to Emily and Amelia Nagoski, 20 to 60 minutes of sustained moderate to intense physical activity is enough to complete the cycle. And no, this doesn't mean you need a gym membership or a strict workout routine. It could be dancing wildly in your room, going for a long, brisk walk, or shaking your body like an animal after a stressful moment. The form doesn't matter, the signal does. It must raise your heart rate, deepen your breathing, and move the tension out of your muscles. That's the body's language. That's what completion looks like. But movement isn't the only way. Breathing, especially deep, intentional breathing, can act as a neurological hack. Long, slow exhales activate the parasympathetic nervous system, the branch responsible for rest and digestion, the off switch to stress. One technique, known as the physiological sigh, involves a deep breath in, followed by a second short sip of air at the top, and then a long, extended exhale. Just a few rounds can dramatically reduce cortisol levels and signal to your brain, "We're okay now." It's subtle, but it works. Positive social interaction is another powerful strategy, not shallow conversation, not endless group chats. What the nervous system needs is genuine connection, a moment where you feel safe, seen, and supported. A laugh with someone you trust, a hug that lasts more than 20 seconds, long enough to release oxytocin, the hormone of safety and connection. Even petting a dog or making eye contact with someone who truly listens can complete the cycle. The body doesn't always need to solve the problem. Sometimes it just needs to know it's not alone in facing it. Then there's creative expression. Painting, journaling, gardening, cooking, building something with your hands. These activities engage your sensory motor system in a way that shifts your brain from survival to exploration. They don't just distract the mind. They ground it in the present. They pull your focus away from abstract worry and root it in tangible, embodied action. That shift from threat to creation is a biological form of healing. Let's not forget crying. Not the performative kind. The raw, guttural, unfiltered release that comes when you've held in too much for too long. Emotional tears are chemically different from reflex tears. They literally carry stress hormones out of the body. That post-cry relief you feel, that's not psychological. That's physiological resolution. And finally, nature. Just 20 minutes in a natural environment, especially one with green space or flowing water, has been shown to reduce amygdala activity, lower cortisol, and restore baseline functioning. But it only works if you're present. Walking through a park while staring at your phone doesn't count. Your body must experience the surroundings, hear the wind, feel the sun, touch the leaves. This is not poetic, it's neurological. Each of these strategies completes the cycle in a different way. And none of them are about fixing your thoughts. They're about closing a loop that your biology began without your permission. They are reminders that your body is not a machine. It's a system that needs closure, ritual, and physical signals to function properly. Without them, stress piles up in layers. But with them, you don't just survive stress. You metabolize it, you digest it, you finish it. But knowing how to complete the cycle is only part of the equation. Because for many people, exhaustion runs deeper than just physical or emotional fatigue. It touches something existential, something internalized over years of cultural conditioning. What if the reason you never feel rested is because you've been taught to feel guilty for even needing rest? What if you were raised in a system that glorifies burnout and shames recovery? In the next part, we'll confront the culture of overfunctioning and the invisible war being waged against your nervous system by the very society you live in. Because completing the stress cycle is powerful, but unless you challenge the forces keeping you stuck, the cycle will just begin again tomorrow. By the time someone realizes they're chronically exhausted, the damage has usually been building for years. That's because the symptoms of incomplete stress aren't always loud or dramatic. They're subtle, creeping, easy to normalize. They show up in ways that are easy to dismiss as just life, or worse, as personal failure. But make no mistake, if you're living with stress that's never been discharged, your body is talking. The only question is, are you listening? It starts with fatigue. Not the kind that sleep fixes, but the kind that feels like your soul is tired. You wake up after a full night's sleep and still feel like you've been hit by something. You go through your day in a fog, mentally sluggish, emotionally flat, physically heavy. It's not just tiredness, it's depletion, a sense that no matter what you do, energy never fully returns. Then come the mood changes. You snap at small things. You're irritable without cause. You feel anxious even when nothing's wrong, or numb when everything should feel meaningful. You start to lose pleasure in the things you used to love. Music doesn't move you. Hobbies feel dull. Even good moments feel muted. This isn't just stress. This is a body stuck in emergency mode, incapable of relaxing into joy. You might also notice strange physical signs. Tight muscles that never fully release, shallow breathing, headaches, digestive issues, or frequent illness. Chronic stress slowly suppresses the immune system, impairs digestion, and disrupts every major organ system. But because the symptoms are gradual, we convince ourselves they're just part of getting older, part of being busy, part of being an adult. But here's the truth. Being constantly wired, anxious, and drained is not normal. It's just common. And the longer you ignore it, the deeper it embeds. Your nervous system is plastic. It adapts, which means if you stay in survival mode long enough, that becomes your baseline. You forget what it feels like to be rested, to breathe fully, to feel joy without guilt. You stop noticing the tension in your shoulders. You forget what it's like to not be bracing for the next hit. You think you've adapted, but you've actually disconnected. That's why this isn't just about managing stress. It's about reclaiming your aliveness. Because when you complete the cycle, when you signal to your body that the threat is over, something incredible happens. You come back online, your breath deepens, your mind clears. You feel safe in your own skin again. Not because life got easier, but because your system finally received the message it was waiting for. You made it. You're safe. You can rest now. This is the power of completing the stress response. Not numbing, not bypassing, not coping, but actually resolving the loop. It doesn't mean life becomes perfect. It means your body stops living like it's constantly under attack. And for the first time in a long time, you get to experience rest that actually restores. Calm that isn't just silence, but peace. Energy that doesn't come from adrenaline, but from within. If any part of this resonated with you, if you saw yourself in these words, leave a comment with the word release below. That one word tells me you're ready to stop holding it all in. It tells me you're ready to let go, not of responsibility, but of the chronic tension you've been carrying in silence. And if you want to understand yourself on a deeper level, keep watching. The next video will take this even further. And trust me, you need to hear what's coming next. You're not broken. You're just unfinished. Let's change that. Keep going.